Ladies and gentlemen, as you already know that Ferrari has destroyed the confidence and everything of Lewis Hamilton within 14 races into 2025, half a season. We are in the summer break right now, and within half a season, what a great job by Ferrari, by the way. Because earlier with Fernando and with Sebastian, they took years, but somehow with Lewis Hamilton, they could do it within 14 races. And the most recent race in Hungaroring, it was absolutely horrible for Lewis Hamilton because he got knocked out in Q2, qualified P12, and then he said, I am useless, absolutely useless. Ferrari probably needs to change the driver, and I drove terribly, it is what it is. And after the main race, he said that I am looking forward to going away. And I was thinking, wow, that's amazing. I wonder how Ferrari did that. And I found out. So basically, what they did was show up with a borderline illegal car. We'll talk about the illegality in a second. And they will have zero solution for it. Charles Leclerc could use some hacks and tricks to drive around the issue because he has been with the team for very long. Lewis Hamilton cannot because he is new. And also he has been struggling a little bit with the ground effect era cars. And as a result of that, when you're constantly being beaten by a teammate, a younger teammate, weekend after weekend, in almost all of the competitive sessions, it takes a toll. And then you have a devastated and internally destroyed 7-time world champion. So let's talk about the illegality first. So the illegality is that the underside plank of the Ferrari wears out a bit too much when you push it hard. So the ground effect era cars, what happens is on the straights where these cars reach the peak speed, the cars get squeezed onto the track. So when the cars get squeezed onto the track, the underside of the car is closest to the track, to the tarmac. And in that situation, it kind of drags across the asphalt. And because of that, the underside, the plank, wears out too much. And Ferrari, because they're Italian morons, they cannot design a good competitive car by remaining within the engineering constraints. So they have to make that mistake. So they have to kind of step outside of the engineering guidelines and make a dog shit of a car. And basically, that is the illegality. And we found out about the illegality first in the 2025 Chinese Grand Prix, where both of the Ferrari got disqualified. And the reason why this issue popped up in China is if you look at the layout of China, a lot of straights. And in the second half of the straights, like this area is particular, the Ferrari will reach the maximum speed. And as I was explaining earlier, when the ground effect era cars reach maximum speed, they're squeezed more onto the track to generate more downforce, more stability, more grip, that sort of thing. And it just drags more against the circuit, against the asphalt, increasing the wear of the underside plank. And this issue was hidden earlier in Australia because of the rain. So in rain, the teams run the intermediate tires, which increases the ride height a little bit. So the car is basically lifted slightly more like above the ground. And in rain, regardless of how hard you push, the chances of Ferraris wearing out the underside of their car a bit too much diminishes, right? So the issue was kind of hidden because of rain in Melbourne. But in China, if you look at the track layout, there are a lot of straight type of areas where you just go flat out and push. And in those situations, the car gets squeezed onto the track, more underside wear, and basically the car DNFs, and that's the only way Ferrari can be competitive. Now you might be wondering, why did Ferrari did not find a solution to this problem? Because they discovered it in China, which is the second Grand Prix. 12 more races after that, the problem still persisted, including in Hungaroring. I have proof of that. I'll show it to you in a second. So why did Ferrari did not give a shit to fix this problem after China? And the reason is simple, because Ferrari's priority is to look good in front of the media. As long as people use their brand to chase clout and look pretty and increase the overall brand value and keep buying merch, they're fine. They don't give two shits if on track in Formula One they're clowns. They have been clowns for many, many years. They don't care anymore. So they only came up with hacks, with workarounds. And the workaround is lift and coast. So basically, instead of going flat out on the straights, the drivers were advised to lift, ease off the throttle pedal so the Ferrari will not reach the peak speed that it is actually capable of, to prevent the car from squeezing onto the track, which will risk more wear out of the underside plank. Like, that was their big solution. That is the only solution. And they applied it in the Austrian Grand Prix first. Let's go ahead and give it a listen to Charles Leclerc's radio from the Austrian Grand Prix. Let's just give it a listen, okay?
Lyco, please.
Lyco, please. This is the voice of Brian Bozzi. He said, Lyco, please. Lyco means lift and coast.
Lyco, please. We need 50 meter more Lyco. So
they need 50 meters more Lyco. Now, let me go ahead and bring your attention to the track layout of Austria. A lot of places where you just go flat out. A lot of straights where the Ferrari is capable of going to its absolute limit, which increases the chances of the underside plank wear, because the Ferrari is going to go to the maximum speed and it's a ground effect era car. The car will be squeezed onto the track more closer to the underside, and it's going to wear out a bit too much. So they need more Lyco. First he said more Lyco, and then he said more Lyco 50 meters. So 50 meters more from, like, let's say Ferrari advised Charles Leclerc to lift and coast from 100 meters from the braking zone or whatever. They need 50 more meters on top of that. So let's hear the conversation further.
Each corner.
This Lyco in turn 1 is killing us.
This is the voice of Charles Leclerc, and he said that the Lyco in turn 1 is killing us. So basically, like, obviously, if you are lift and coasting because your car is a horrible piece of machinery and the only way you can be competitive is if you drive around the issues by employing these hacks like lift and coast, then obviously you're going to lose time to the people ahead and you will be more vulnerable to attack from the people behind. So to turn 1, too much Lyco, and also turn 1, it's like an elevation into turn 1. So obviously this Lyco was massive and the impact of it was massive, and Charles Leclerc said that the Lyco into turn 1 is killing us.
We need the Lyco, all corners, Charles, please.
Now Brian Bozzi, being a bitch, he's saying that we need Lyco in all corners, please. Otherwise, I mean, they know this. They know the limitation of the car since China. And this is Austria. Several Grand Prix weekends later, the issue is still there. They still haven't figured a way out. It's okay if you lose a little bit of performance. And I know a lot of people are going to jump on this and say that, well, it's not that easy to fix the issues of a Formula 1 car. Shut the fuck up. Even if you lose a little bit of pace and a little bit of performance, because this is not a solution. When you say that the car, when it goes fast, has the chance of becoming illegal, your solution is, let's not go fast. You are in Formula 1 racing. You are here to race. You are here to win. And these motherfuckers, the drivers, are PR trained to say in front of the media that we are here to win with Ferrari. How are you gonna win if you're just like going all the way for 24 Grand Prix in a year? How the like, explain that shit to me. Let's continue to listen.
Brake shape -1 to help front locking. Brake shape -1.
It's horrible. It's not one.
Now, he said that brake something shift -1 to avoid front locking. The front locking issue happens because these motherfuckers have been Lycoing too much. Because the brakes get cooler and the chances of lockups increase. The brakes need to, just like the tires, they operate in a good temperature window. And if you Lyco too much, you're not putting enough energy through the brake discs and it's not hot. And obviously your chances of locking them up increases.
One.
We need Lyco, all corners, Charles, every lap.
Every lap. Like, I don't know which lap this message came in, but from that point onwards, even in the internal corners where you're not going flat out, even there you need to do Lyco. That's how piece of shit Ferrari car is. That's how borderline illegal they are. If they don't do Lyco, the Ferrari car will go fast. And they cannot afford to go fast, even though their dream is to win. On the pinnacle of motorsport, ladies and gentlemen, this is the pinnacle of motorsport.
That's what I am doing, Brian.
Turn 1,
That is what
we
I'm
didn't
doing.
do.
So,
This is a very fun radio exchange, the last message in particular. It has become a meme, just like most of the Ferrari news. So basically, as I was mentioning, Ferrari showed up with a borderline illegal car and they will have no solution because they don't like to do any real actual hard work. Their goal is to look good in front of the media, sell merch, have some social media clout, and just look pretty. And it doesn't really matter if they look like a bunch of wankers on the track. And Lewis Hamilton will struggle to drive around these issues because he is not used to the Italian incompetency. Charles is. And in fact, Charles Leclerc is groomed by the incompetent Italians to accept it as the way of life. I will talk a lot of shit about Charles Leclerc later in this video and also in a new upcoming video because I'm pretty mad at Charles Leclerc for the things that he said after the Hungarian Grand Prix post-race interview, during the post-race interview. So get subscribed if you're interested in that. But basically, the big strategy of Ferrari is to come up with a borderline car, borderline illegal that is, and like Lewis Hamilton will struggle to drive it, and after a few races he's gonna die. And now we will listen to the Lewis Hamilton radio from the Hungarian Grand Prix, the most recent race. Let's give it a listen, shall we? Because this is the most interesting one. And this is a big shout out to Rave Sikh for uploading this with subtitles. Let's start. So we are right now on lap 2, as you can see here, and tire age 2 laps. Let's hear what Ricky is saying to Lewis Hamilton.
DRS enable. And lift and coast reminder for brakes.
It's not brakes. It's actually the underside wearing out. Lift and coast from lap 3. The race just started, my friend. And listen, this is Hungaroring. This is not like Austria where you just push flat out from multiple corners. This is not like China where you have very, very long straights. This is Hungaroring. A track with a very low average speed. I mean, the running temperature is a little bit hot, but it's a very low average speed circuit. And on that track, they are telling Lewis Hamilton, the new guy, who is dreaming to win his 8th world title, the new guy, that hey, our car is a shitbox and our engineers are morons, so we couldn't be bothered to fix the underside plank wearing issue. So we're just gonna manage it by LICOing for the remainder of the season. And the race just started, so why don't you just get started on that? Lap 3, they tell Lewis Hamilton to LICO. Let's keep on going, shall we?
No pace to overtake.
No pace to
Over there.
overtake. No shit. If you're not pushing on a track like Hungaroring, where it's already difficult to overtake, and you have to LICO all the way. Now, lap 8, the subtitles came in first, but let's just play.
Increase lift and coast for turn 1 and turn 2.
Increase lift and coast for turn 1 and turn 2. Think about it. Like, these are the two places where the Ferrari can become the fastest. Turn 1, obviously, is towards the end of the straight, and turn 2 is kind of like a complete acceleration zone, also a DRS zone. Even in these areas, they need to do LICO. They need to lift and coast. Otherwise, the plank is going to wear out too much, and the same thing that happened in China will repeat itself. And Ferrari don't want to look like a bunch of clowns in front of the media. They don't give a shit if they don't win anything. They just don't want to look like a bunch of clowns that affects the sales merch. They want to sell more hoodies and caps and all this type of shit. Let's continue to hear it. Let's see what more exchange happens between Ricciardo Adami and Lewis Hamilton. Lap 8, more lift and coast for turn 1 and 2.
Number
On a medium speed track, low average speed track. Now this is what Lewis says.
lifting and coasting a huge amount.
Already he's doing a huge amount.
Understood.
Now on lap 12, he gets another reminder to do more LICO.
And keep up with the lift and coast.
For fuck's sake.
Maybe about 63 might be better for temps. Need to manage those brakes.
I'm barely using them.
This is a critical piece of exchange. Because Ricciardo Adami says some dog shit thing about the brake balance settings, and Lewis says, bro, you are telling me to lift and coast so much that the brakes are already so cold and I'm barely using them. Let's go ahead and hear it once again. So the dumbass says,
Most
keep up with the lift and coast on
maybe
lap
about
12.
63 might be better for temps
Might
to
be better
manage
for
those
them.
brakes.
You can manage those brakes.
I'm barely using them.
So Ferrari basically killed Lewis Hamilton by giving him a shitbox that is undrivable, and Charles Leclerc, because he is longer in the team, he can drive the car. And when you are consistently being beaten by your teammate Grand Prix after Grand Prix in almost every competitive session, it doesn't look that good. It's not gonna bode well for your mental health. And the only races that these motherfuckers are slightly competitive is during the rain. Because if you remember in Spa, the 2025 Belgian Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton was flying when it was raining. Because he was on the intermediate tires, he could push the car more. The risk of having those underside plank wear is significantly less. I mean, obviously, he was on a high downforce setup. That helped. I'm not saying anything related to that doesn't matter. But the big issue that Ferrari has is that they have a borderline illegal car with the risk of plank wear. And even though they discovered it in the second race of the season in China, where both of the Ferraris disqualified, they must know this. Obviously, in Melbourne, you can say that, okay, it was raining and whatever. And the reason why it got hidden for so long is, like, obviously in China, both of the Ferraris disqualified for two different reasons, and their pace kind of looked well. Because before the disqualification, they were P5 and P6, which is behind both of the McLarens, George Russell and Max Verstappen, and after that there was Leclerc and Hamilton, which is understandable. Similarly, in Austrian Grand Prix, where Charles Leclerc was being told by Brian Bosey to increase lift and coast throughout the race, and Leclerc said that, the Lyco is killing me. There also, they finished behind both of the McLarens. Max Verstappen retired, and George Russell's pace was nowhere because Mercedes used the wrong suspension. They used the wrong suspension, and only before the Hungarian Grand Prix they swapped it back with the older one. The new suspension was kind of horrible. They got blindsided that the new suspension is beautiful because of the amazing result they had in Canada, where the team had a 1-3. George Russell's first victory in 2025, and Kimi Antonelli's first podium in Formula 1 happened in Canada with the new suspension. Andrew Sovlin, trackside engineer in Mercedes, explained all of these things. So because of that, in the Austrian Grand Prix, Ferrari managed to secure their best result of the team, P3 and P4, despite doing significantly huge amount of Lyco. So this also kind of hid the issue. But if you look closer, they're not really that fast. And this is not the first time that Ferrari showed up with an illegal car to appear competitive, despite damaging their campaign to the world titles. Like in 2019, if you remember, Charles Leclerc had 7 or 9 pole positions in a row. I think it was the largest pole position streak of any driver in Formula 1, especially in Ferrari. He broke Michael Schumacher's record of 7 pole position in a row or something like that. I don't remember the numbers exactly. Some of the nerds can tell me. But in 2019, they had a illegal engine. He was battling hard with Lewis Hamilton in the Italian Grand Prix, and Charles Leclerc won the 2019 Italian Grand Prix. And the engine investigation happened right after that, and the FIA kind of had a hush-hush settlement with Ferrari. Because Ferrari, like I mentioned, all they care about is looking good in front of the media, so they don't want to be accused of doing anything illegal, right? Basically, they were just sending more fuel to the engine, more than which was mandated, which was allowed by the regulations. And that's why they had a huge pace advantage, especially in the straights. And because of that, in 2019, suddenly, from the middle of the season, Charles Leclerc was banging in those pole position laps, and he won in Monza, the Temple of Speed. Lewis Hamilton, even with DRS, couldn't manage to overtake Charles Leclerc. So that was a very interesting race. So in 2019, also they showed up with an illegal car. And after this investigation got finished, Ferrari were nowhere. If you remember, like after that, they became a midfield team. And that actually kicked off the demise of Sebastian Vettel. We're not going to talk about that in this video. But this is not the first time 2025 is not the first time in which Ferrari showed up with the dog shit of a car with hacky engineering tactics at the pinnacle of motorsport to appear competitive, to keep their merch sales high, because that's the only thing that they care about. They care about likes, they care about capitalizing on the emotions of the emotional tifosi and the Formula One fans, receiving the adoration of the fans. That's what these motherfuckers care about, rather than winning championships and pushing the boundaries of innovation by designing good cars. The final nail in the coffin for Lewis Hamilton was himself, actually. So he said that he refuses to end up like Fernando and Sebastian, who couldn't win any world championship. Like, he said this and he had a lot of meetings with people. He doesn't want to end up like Fernando Alonso and Sebastian Vettel, who tried to win with Ferrari but couldn't. And he's just having a lot of meetings. He's sending a lot of documents. He is spending a lot of time in the simulator. He's challenging the structural things in Scuderia Ferrari. The document thing is mentioned here. So he is doing a lot of extra work to try to break the inefficient or incompetent Italian mold in order to make this team more competitive than they actually are. And this is the worst thing that Lewis Hamilton can do, because why would anyone work harder if you don't need to? All of the engineers and the management people in Ferrari, they're just happy to be in Ferrari. They're just happy to, wear the red shirt and enjoy the love of the tifosi and have the bragging rights that I work with Ferrari. That's based, and they're happy with it. Why would anyone push hard if they don't need to? And that's basically what Lewis Hamilton is doing. He's causing a lot of friction within the team. And as a consequence of that, he's also facing a lot of backlash. And he actually revealed it, that a lot of things happening in the background and the backlash that he is receiving, because he is challenging the team so much that it's upsetting him. So he says this, and this is the post-race interview from the 2025 Hungarian Grand Prix. This is what Lewis Hamilton says. Listen to him closely.
There's a lot going on in the background.
There's a lot going on in the background.
That's it's not great. So
not great. There's a lot happening in the background that's not great. And I'm just seeing this. I mean, this is the writing on the wall. So first, they start off with a terrible car, borderline illegal, that only Charles Leclerc can drive, because he has been with the team for so long and he knows that these engineers are dumb motherfucking morons and they're not going to fix the car. They're only going to give him some hacks. And Lewis Hamilton is the new guy and he's going to suffer, because for weekend after weekend, Charles Leclerc will adapt to the car better because he knows the team. He knows the incompetency of the Italians. But Lewis is new. So that's the first place his soul is going to die a little bit. And the second phase his soul is going to die a little bit is because he wants to push the Ferrari engineers and the people at Ferrari to go back to their winning ways. And he is meeting with a lot of backlash because these motherfuckers don't want to work. Why would you want to work if you have the highest social media following? Why would you want to work if you're already selling merch and you're looking pretty and all of the celebrities across the world come to your garage for clout chasing? As long as you have your brand value and you're selling merch and looking good in front of media, nobody wants to work harder. There's no big gains. If you're an underdog team, yes, you want to win. But if you're Ferrari already, you can just continue to refer back to your past laurels. Michael Schumacher did that. You just need to go back and say that, hey, Michael won and we are a historic team. And that's basically all Ferrari do. And that's why they hired Lewis Hamilton. Because they know in their heart of hearts that they won't be able to come up with a good car. And they need someone to make the team look good so that they can sell these dumb motherfucking overpriced caps and hoodies and t-shirts. That's their whole strategy. If you're telling the driver to do LICO from lap 3 and he is barely using the brakes, this is lap 13 of 17 on a low average speed circuit. I mean, if you push in Hungaroring and your car is closer to the ground and you're losing a lot of the underside plank, whatever the fuck it's called, and your car is going to become illegal and it's going to get disqualified, then you are not going to be any competitive in any season. The last ray of hope that Lewis Hamilton has is 2026, because I think personally the 2026 regulation change are going to favor Lewis Hamilton a little bit. I'm going to make a whole another video about those regulations. I want to talk about how this might make the car or the grid competitive. But that's their last ray of hope, and I think these motherfuckers are going to fuck it up once again, because they will again come up with a dog shit of a car, and Lewis Hamilton will continue to fight against the team and forcing them to work harder than they're used to, which is just not going to pan out. And that's how Ferrari killed a 7-time world champion within half a season. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.